Here's a story from the BBC on customer service. I thought you might find it interesting, but basically the story is that customers are fed up with being told that they're getting poor service because of COVID. And I thought you might like it because I think it speaks to something that we talk about a lot recently, but just the state of customer service in general. So I just wanted to get your initial thoughts there.
I mean, they said, customer service has been dying for years, but it seemed like it's pretty much dead in 2020. Um, People are understaffed. People are in terrible moods. We thought it would get better in 2021, and people are continued to, not have the staff they need. They're understaffed. You're pulling up the drive-through windows, seeing, they're usually open at midnight and they're closing at 5. So it is an excuse, but at what point do you think the customer is just going to say, all right, I'm just tired of this?
Yeah, for sure. I guess the follow-up question is we know how important customer service is, right? There's a stat that's 90% of Americans consider customer service before they do business with a company. So knowing that it's that important, how have we let it slip?
I mean, when I'm talking to small business owners, it's almost like there's no choice for them. I talk to store owners that they got the sign in the window, they got the ad online, they got the sign along the road, and they get 0 applicants. $13 an hour, not enough. We'll go to $14 an hour, 0 applicants. Let's go to $15 an hour, 0 applicants. Let's go to $17 an hour, 0 applicants. And then you kind of see what the news is talking about, saying, oh, people are tired of crappy jobs or low paying jobs, so if you pay more money, we'll come back to work. Well, when you go talk to the actual business owners as they have crept the salaries up, they're still not getting the applicants. So I don't know how we solve that problem right now. I mean, there's a car wash I saw paying $16 or $17 an hour to dry cars. So if you analyze that out, that's the equivalent on a 40-hour week, like $32,000 to $34,000 a year. Now, Kane, this is to dry cars. They still can't. They had to shut down their full service part because they didn't have enough workers. So if paying more money ain't gonna fix it, I mean, I'm sure if you start paying $100 an hour, someone's gonna dry cars, right?
Yeah.
But short of that, if they're doing everything within their power, then what do you do?
Do you think most of it is driven by a kind of a labor market supply and demand thing? So, we're short on staff, therefore customer service comes down, or do you think there's maybe something a little bit deeper to it than that? Maybe something societal.
I mean, it's always part of society that wants to get paid more. Who doesn't? There's some people that just don't want to work. There's other people that don't care what they do or what they get paid, they're going to work. One thing we got to keep in mind is that before COVID, we still had a labor shortage. I used to drive. We actually did a article on this, but from my house to the office in Michigan, I kept, just driving down 2 streets, I would count so many signs. I'm like, you know what? Let's send somebody out in the field and just surface level, only hiring signs you can see from the road. You can't go investigate. If you see a sign, then you got to, take a check. When they did that, between my house and the office, 25-minute drive, 50 plus hiring signs. Now, this was pre-COVID. So we did have a lot. We were at what, 3 point, I don't know, was it 3.4% unemployment at that point in time?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I might be making numbers up here, but it was low. And we still had a gap in the market. But there was enough workers to keep businesses running and growing. Short staffed, sure, but not painfully short staffed. So what changed between the end of, right before COVID started? What changed between then and now?
Right. Right. For me, I feel like a lot of the change is probably it could be driven by kind of the rise in online. So I'll give you an example. I went to a large kind of office supply retailer recently, big box store, so just down the road. And my wife and I, we were looking for a desk. And we walk in and they've got a desk kind of in the showroom. But I think in this giant store, there's like three people working. So nobody came to help us. We finally got this piece of paper that showed us what desk we wanted. We brought it up to the front and they didn't have it in stock. And they said, they got to order it. Um, and it would be delivered in whatever, a week, 2 weeks or whatever. Um, but so then of course, the value proposition of that store disappears, right? I'm going to go online and I'm going to probably buy it through Amazon or something. So to me, I see some sort of correlation there where it's probably difficult for stores to compete now with a service that requires almost no human to human customer service. And then it's like, what's the incentive?
I could see where that would make operationally more troublesome for a brick and mortar store, but where did the worker go that used to work at the brick and mortar store? Are you telling me they're working at Amazon now? Or are they not working at all is the question.
That's a good point.
But I've had similar experiences where like this idea of showrooming where I'm going to go to Best Buy one day, I'm going to walk around Best Buy and I'm going to look at stuff, but they're going to carry no inventory and then I'm going to order it. Well, it's kind of silly because it's like, well, then I'm going to go shop around and find the cheapest price.
Right.
I'm here in the store right now because I want to buy something right now. And it's just getting harder to hang on to inventory and have the bodies on the floor. Walk into any Home Depot.
Yeah.
Like, I swear to God, it's like when you turn a light on and you're in a bad place and like the cockroaches run.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like when I walk into most large stores where they see a customer and people scatter, the workers scatter. They don't want to deal with the customer and they don't want to work. It's like, well, screw you. I'll just go to Amazon. And I think that's, you end up defaulting to Amazon because it's, at that point, it's just price and convenience. You never underestimate a customer's desire to have something done easy.
Yeah.
If I went out of my way to drive down to a Home Depot and get out of my car and walk inside and look around, electrical stuff. I don't know them. I know something about electrical. I don't know everything about electrical. Can you give me a little insight? So, well, if I got to sit home and I might as well just go home and YouTube it.
Yeah.
If I got to go chase somebody down with the orange apron on, to get them to do their job and help me figure out if this is the right plug or not. And I think we can continue to see that getting worse and worse and worse. So you combo this up with lack of staff, and then you got people that really don't want to be at work at all, and you have the perfect storm for just terrible customer service across the board. I don't really see that getting any better anytime soon, unfortunately.
You know what comes to mind when sorry, go ahead, James.
No, go ahead.
You know what comes to mind when you say poor customer service is like this recent experience I had at the DMV. I got to get the title transferred on one of our cars, and part of it is getting like a VIN check. And I'm relatively savvy at getting information online, but I know nothing about cars. And so I drove our other car with the title in hand to the DMV, and I waited in line for however long it was, 30 minutes or what is it? Walk up to the agent who was going to help me, and the look on their face when I didn't know I had to bring the car that had the VIN that needed to be checked to the actual DMV was, I haven't gone to get the title changed since, because I was so insulted by the face that this agent made to me. Just but like you said, it's simple things that if they just make it easy, there wouldn't be such a backlog. So many things would go smoother.
But it's hard to do the easy stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to buy a bike for 12 months. I don't know. Like the bikes were sold out last year, and they're still kind of sold out this year. But I finally found one, and there's a local bike shop that's by my house that most of the community refuses to use because the general consensus is they're all condescending pricks, and nobody wants to go in there because they're all like these like elitist type bikers, and it's well, you wonder why maybe your shop's not doing so good because you treat everybody like crap. But they happen to be a dealer for a very popular bike, and you kind of get stuck going there. So people are like, screw it. They started driving half an hour, 45 minutes to other bike stores because nobody wants to give these guys the money. But there happens to be another store down the road that carries a different brand I like, and I found one. I called the dude up. I'm like, hey, you got that in stock? Super nice on the phone. He's like, yeah, we got that. Yeah, I'm going to pull up. And, you know, with COVID and stuff, I'm still trying not to go into buildings. I'm trying to avoid people. There's any chance you could roll that thing outside? And he's like, come on, man. Give me 2 minutes. I'm going to throw some pedals on this thing. I'm going to roll right out the back door for you. And 2 minutes later, guy rolls outside with the bike. You know, no questions asked. Super happy. Explains all the features. Like, hop on this, go for a ride, jump that curb. Just, I mean, holy crap, someone actually cares. And just a great experience. And he's like, look, I know you don't want to come inside. You can give me your credit card, and I'll run inside and charge it. If that doesn't make you comfortable that you're not there with your card, you just stand right here. I'll go inside. I'll call you from the register on your phone, and you can give me your card number, whatever you want to do. And I'm like, I'll give you my card. I know you're not going to run across the street to Target. He's like, you don't know, man, Target. But I was like, wow, there is someone that cares, and I know it's not his shop. I know he's just an employee there. But it's that I get in that conversation with someone that runs one of my companies for me. It's like, how do you describe the ideal employee? And obviously that's, you know, they're hardworking and blah, all this stuff. But the one word we consistently come back to is people that care. And they care about being a professional. They care about the company. They care about their own career. They care about the people around them. They just care. And they may not make you the most money. They usually don't make you the least amount of money. But they're just like good people that want to be professionals, and they take pride in their work. And this dude I know he's selling bikes. But just because you're selling bikes doesn't mean you shouldn't take pride in your work. And I've had a whole gambit of crappy jobs as a teenager. Two of those was one cleaning medical offices in Detroit, which let's not even go there. And the second one was landscaping. Actually, there's a whole bunch of crappy jobs, but this one in particular was cleaning up construction sites so they could do the landscaping after a home build. And a lot of those jobs equated to rolling rocks up hills in 90-degree heat, 95-degree heat. But I didn't care. It was I want to roll the most rocks up the hill. I want to roll the rocks up the hill the fastest I can. And we made fun. We had like a competition, and no matter what job I ever had, I tried to go in and be a professional and do it with pride and do it well. And I just don't think we see that in the job market right now. You walk into any McDonald's and you're greeted with a mope that looks like they don't want to be at work. They hate this place. My job sucks. And, you know, my motto always is there's no job that sucks that pays rent or puts food in your mouth.
Yep.
And I think we've lost that. And how are you going to get high levels of customer service from people that don't want to work, that hate their jobs, just hate working in general, don't want to be professionals, but most importantly, don't care?
No, absolutely. Finding those employees that care are worth so much money to an organization. Here's another stat I found for you, James. 89% of consumers are more likely to make a repeat purchase after experiencing good customer service. So, I mean, if customer acquisition costs aside, like the value of a repeat customer is so high, and these employees that care typically are the ones that drive that. They're so valuable. But it kind of goes back to the question that you asked at the beginning. Where have all these individuals gone? Have they just moved up in organizations and then kind of left this gap, at the kind of the the manual labor aspect, or where do you think why is this happening?
I mean, I don't think the labor pool has shifted that much. Yeah, if more people going to college, sure. It doesn't mean they automatically care. I just feel there's been a fundamental shift in how people see work and how they see jobs in general, where I feel like somewhere between school, your parents and your friends, you're taught to hate work. And you shouldn't have to work 40 hours. And if the job has no meaning or no purpose, or it's not your passion, then it's automatically garbage. Which where I grew up, we grew up broke. To me, there was no bad job. We had to pay rent. I need food. That car's got car insurance. We got medical bills. You'd get the paper. Going back before the computers here, you'd go through the paper and you wouldn't sort jobs by passion or purpose. You sort jobs by how much it pays per hour. And crappier jobs sometimes paid more money, but you didn't care. It's do I want to make $9 an hour doing something that's really easy, or do I want $13 an hour doing this crappy job? It's like, well, I'll take a $13 an hour because I need money. That doesn't really exist anymore. We automatically look at things and say, this is a dead end job. It's useless. And it's like, well, have you ever had rent due? Have you ever had someone about to repossess your car? Have you ever missed a meal because you had no food in the refrigerator? And a lot of times you find that those people don't look at it that way. And you got a lot of these kids that are, don't have their backs against the wall. So it's easy to say, well, I'm not going to take that job at Costco paying $15 an hour. It's like, well, why don't you just take that job, make some money, put it toward your school loans, save to buy a house, take a vacation. I don't know. Go get some work experience. Go learn what it's like to deal with customers, with your coworkers, what it's like to be reliable and dependable. These skills you really don't learn in college, right? That's automatically dope. That's a garbage job. Not wasting my time doing that. I'd rather just sit at home. Meanwhile, everyone's got for hire signs out there because it's just not work that anybody wants to do.
What's crazy too is the amount of money that you could actually make if you do, if you're 18. We wrote that article on Employment Boost recently about what you could do with an additional 60-80 grand if you just worked 20 hours a week for a few years, right? I mean, you were the genesis of that article. Do you want to just speak a little bit to the logic there?
I remember the idea. I don't remember the details, but I thought it was something like if you just worked, wasn't even part-time between you were like 16 and 20.
Yeah, 20 hours a week.
If you worked 20 hours a week from the time you were 16 to 20, which I was going to high school and working way more hours than that, by the way, but times change. But if you just worked 20 hours for those 4 years, it was what, like 60 grand, 80 grand or something?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what if you're imagine being 20 years old, you got to pay some taxes, you're going to spend some of that money. Let's just say you had 50 grand left over. How many 20-year-olds do you know have no debt for the most part and $50,000 cash?
No, zero.
Where I came from, these little baby boomer roll houses, right? But you could probably buy one of those for like 90 grand right now. So throw 10 grand down. You could be 20 years old and you could own one of those, 7 square foot houses I grew up in at 20 years old and still have $40,000 in the bank.
Yeah.
And I have those conversations with people and they get like the deer in headlights look. And it's like, oh, wow. While they're complaining about their $100,000 in school loans, making, 30 grand a year or whatever. And it's like, there's other ways to go about things. And imagine having 4 years of work experience, 4 years of being a reliable, dependable worker, having cash in the bank, having a good credit score, not having any debt. Maybe you go to school part-time and you start chipping away at a degree if you want to, or maybe you get in somewhere that says, hey, you're a reliable, dependable worker. We're going to pay for your college. There's so many other paths to get yourself set up in life, but the component here that everyone doesn't want to hear is, well, you got to go work. And that's what we don't want to do. Okay, like, You know how many times we've come across employees for our companies that they're 22 years old, just coming out of college, and they've never had a job?
Oh, I can imagine it's pretty high.
It's a little alarming. I started working when I was 12 or 13 years old. But how do you go through that much of life and not bag groceries or did something somewhere? Hey, get an internship when you come home for the summer.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't realize how far behind you are. You might have the piece of paper to go on the wall, but you're missing out on all this other work experience. And then they get that first job and it doesn't go the way they think it should. And then they get that second job and it doesn't go. And they start bouncing around because they've not really figured out how to be a good employee yet, such as showing up to work on time, dealing with the adversity of coworkers.
Yeah.
You know how many times you hear people say, I mean, my friends and family, I'm being micromanaged. I'm being micromanaged. Micromanaged. My boss is a micromanager. It's like,
Yeah.
but I know you, and you're the biggest flipping procrastinator on the planet. See, your boss isn't micromanaging you. He's holding you accountable because historically you don't get your work done on time. If you do it, it's usually sloppy, or you just let things slip through the cracks. And you don't realize that's your boss's job to make sure that you get your work done on time and it's done right and you're not pissing customers off. And oh yeah, you call them out on their own bullshit, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, it probably was my fault. And I'm like, dude, you just spent 15 minutes talking about how your boss is an asshole. And I always ask people this question: what do you think it would be like if you had to manage yourself? Oh, that probably
Right.
wouldn't be easy. No, it wouldn't be. It's not even easy being your friend sometimes. What are you talking about right now? And it's like, well, this is stuff you often figure out when you work that McJob.
Yeah.
No one wants that McJob now because it's like, oh, greasy fast food or Costco. It's demeaning. It's not demeaning. It's money. That food going in your mouth takes money. The clothes on your back takes money. That health insurance takes money. We lost the art of providing for ourselves at the end of the day. And what I learned growing up in our neighborhood is what I saw was people that would rather struggle as long as they could get by. They'd rather struggle and not work than to have to go work and get a little bit extra. And I think you're seeing that now with the unemployment that got extended multiple times, where it's like, well, you could get a job making $4,000 a month, or you could stay at home making $2,500 a month. And they go, I'll stay at home make $2,500 a month.
Yeah.
Well, we found out what happens when you give people to give them incentive to stay home and not have to go work. But now it's hurting small businesses. That's hurting growth. It's going to hurt a lot of people in the long run. Who it's not going to hurt is Amazon.
Right.
And I think that's something that's greatly overlooked right now. Starbucks and Amazon, they're all going to get by. But those mom and pop shops, small businesses that create over half the jobs in this country, those are the people that are struggling right now.
And I mean, go back to your point about skills. Those are the jobs that require the skills that you learn at the Muck job, right? It's less reliant on the stuff that you probably learn in a college classroom and more reliant on the fact that you can get to work on time, the fact that you can work as a team with the 10 other people in the shop. Those are the things that are more important for those businesses.
You show them some demonstrated history of reliability and dependability. But what the craziness is, one of the where I grew up, the big dream was getting on the line at Ford. Like, you get good money and good benefits, and that's the dream. The problem is it's really hard because everybody wanted that job. Well, the next thing was, now what do you do if I can't get on the line somewhere? UPS and FedEx were two very attractive jobs where I come from. So a lot of people are trying to get those UPS jobs, the FedEx jobs, and I don't know, probably before COVID, I used to see those FedEx signs outside that were paying $13.67 an hour. It's a very specific number. I don't know what the hell it was. Maybe $14 an hour. It's not bad for no skill work. And then this year, April-ish, I saw the sign go to 16 something an hour, which is probably maybe a little more than what Amazon was paying. And Kane, like, I just drove by it, and now it's up to 19 something an hour for package handlers. So could you imagine like being 18 years old and being able to make 40 grand a year just from moving boxes around? Like, I think back, college wasn't in my playbook. College was never brought up to me growing up. Like, no one was in my family going to go to college. But if I could have made 40 grand at 18, hell yeah, I'm down for that. And I just would have busted my ass. And in 2 years, maybe I'm a supervisor. Maybe I'm making 48,000 or 50,000. And I'm going to work even harder because I'm going to show up every day on time, work hard, cause no problems, and lift people up around me. I bet by my early 20s, I could be making 50, 60 grand at FedEx and maybe even get them to pay for my college. But it would have took work. We all, you hear a lot of kids coming out of college, like, oh, I want to be a social media manager. And
Right.
it's nice to work in the city from a Starbucks all day. Yeah. Who wouldn't want to, like, I want to sit in the Starbucks all day, drink coffee, and play on social media and make $85,000. It sounds awesome. Not realistic.
Yeah.
And I think the person that would have went to FedEx at 18, busted their ass, reliable, dependable, climbed the ladder, maybe get their education paid for. By 30 years old, they're probably going to be further ahead than that person that wanted to sit in a Starbucks being a social media person. But
yeah, no doubt.
No, good.
I was going to add that when I compare kind of the market right now and how much, at 18 without a degree you can make. I mean, I compare it. I was 21 with a degree and I was making 15 an hour, thinking that was fine at the time. So I just, it would have been nice to graduate now.
Yeah, imagine if you could go make that kind of money and not have to spend 100 grand on education.
Right.
There's there was someone I employed a while back, and his thought was, you try to get into a big company and you get them to pay for your master's degree. You're either going to get in a small startup company, you're going to get some like equity, and like that's the big value there. And if you can't, you go work for a Fortune 500 and you spend some time and you try to get them to pay for your master's. You don't see that now. We go get a bachelor's degree, and then when we don't get the job we want, we don't go take that FedEx job. We go back to school, and then we go rack up more debt on a master's degree, for example. And then you start looking at, man, you would have been further ahead working at FedEx. Well, but that's not the work I wanted to do. But I'm like, what are you doing right now? Right now, you're not doing the work you want to do, and you got 150 grand in debt.
Good point.
But again, it's like somewhere along the lines, it was you've just been programmed that these jobs are junk. Well, you wonder why every year customer service gets worse, small business has less people to employ and build their business. And then you look at what's going on with COVID, and are we really surprised right now that customer service levels are at like all-time lows? And you're right, part of it's societal, where it's a mindset that is probably coming from parents in the schools, on top of the fact of there was incentive to just stay home and employment boost, right? We do career services and that type of stuff. One of the sales guys straight up said, every day I get someone that's like, well, I know my unemployment's going to end at some point, so I probably should get my resume done and start looking for a job. So you got proof every day right there that the unemployment has had a great effect on people returning back to work.
Yeah, I mean, switching gears, let's bring this back to maybe solutions mode. I know at your companies, James, customer service maybe priority number 1A or 1B. What are some of the principles I think that you've tried to instill in your companies, or maybe dive into some of the tactics that small businesses or businesses can employ just to bring their level of customer service up a little bit?
One pet peeve of mine that I've always done for all my companies, it's something you actually sell through Daggerfin when you're doing a growth strategy, is that concept of if a customer contacts you, get back to them as soon as possible. You go on any of our websites, we say, we'll get back to you within 1 hour during, Monday through Friday business hours. We will do tests sometimes and call competitors or other industries, like, all right, we're gonna call 10 people, and then we're gonna see how many people call us back in what time frame. Usually less than half actually return the call. Maybe 1 out of 10 will actually answer the call. The other 4 you're lucky to get a call back within the day to several days. That is probably one of the most irritating things I experienced last year and even up to now. Use a contact form, no response. You call them, they're like, oh, it's probably in my spam folder. Well, then you need to check your spam folder every day. You can't have customers contacting you and then you're not getting back to them. Call, leave a message, no call back. Call, leave a message, no call back. Call a third time, they finally call back. Oh my God, we've been so busy. So I get it. But what a way to start off a customer relationship than making them call you 3 times. I heard this from anyone trying to buy a car last year. They couldn't get a call back from a salesperson. If they did get a call back and they needed information, they would just never get a call back again. I think so much of the stuff still just goes back to being understaffed. So how do you follow sound sales and business processes if you don't have the people to do it? We can say go to AI and like do a chat bot, but have you ever tried asking a chat bot that you needed to get an answer from a real person? It doesn't work. So the only solution we really have is to kind of get people back to work so we can use all these great business processes that we know have an effect on a business, such as getting back to your customer within 1 hour of contact.
I actually spoke to one of your VPs this morning who gave me the exact story of how much of a competitive advantage that speed is. I mean, the number of times they reach back out to somebody who's submitted a contact form or reached out for a quote and caught them while they're still researching other competitors, and you just get them on the phone and stop them thinking about the others. Such a competitive advantage.
If you think about how the average person procures something right now that they already don't have a provider lined up for, they jump on Google, they type in a search, and they start calling right down the list. Number 1, number 2, if wherever you're at in that list, if you can get back to them quick enough to keep them from going down the list, then you're kind of eliminating competition. But do we have sense of urgency anymore? People are way more likely to check their Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn messages and text messages, get a cup of coffee, get around checking my emails and my voicemails. Like, how can you be a salesperson and you don't check your voicemails twice a day?
Right.
When I was doing sales to build my companies, if that red light was on, I'm checking my voicemail to get that red light off my phone. That sense of urgency, not just for sale, but again, it's that first customer touch, that first customer experience. It's you guys care. You guys got back to me quick. You have a sense of urgency, and people want to be acknowledged, and the quicker you acknowledge them, the better off you are.
Yeah, and that also feeds into brand loyalty, which I mean, maybe a little bit more in my wheelhouse with Daggerfin, but I mean, we know that like 3 out of 5 consumers report that good CS is a function of good CS drives their loyalty to a brand. So, just going back to that initial contact, right? Make people feel good and make people feel like their requests are important and the amount of goodwill that builds.
I had a friend, he's buying his first house, and he asked me, who do you use for mortgages or something? And most of the time, I make most of my decisions based on the people I have good relationships with. I'll choose a bank that's got a higher rate because I like working with that bank. And, people are out there argue, oh, you're wasting money. It's not about that. There's banks that I can send an email to and probably get a loan in 10 minutes. They always respond to my email Monday through Sunday, 10 o'clock at night. I choose to work with people like that. I like the people that never unplug. There's times when you call somebody and they're at their desk and it's 4:50, but they're not going to answer it because they're leaving at 5 o'clock. These are people I choose not to do business with. And there's so many people that I constantly do business with over the years that just have a high level of customer service. They're always going to take my call. They're going to answer my text. They're going to answer my email. I'll pay more to work with those people. A lot of people always shop on lowest rate and then they wonder why they got a poor experience. Well, not everything's always about rate. I mean, sometimes you got a budget that you have to do that. Yeah, man, I understand that. But how I work anyway is I'm looking for good working relationships, high levels of customer service. There's value in there for whatever I'm buying. This loan's going to cost me $7 a month more. Well, knowing I can get these people on the phone whenever I need to right now, they're going to jump through flaming hoops of fire for me. That's worth $7 a month. Am I going to pay more for the person that takes a week to? Good example. I was shopping around to get a better deal on a business, checking products and all that stuff, and call bank. It's like, what do you guys got going on? Had a good call. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna have this guy get back to you. He handles this is a larger account. He handles that level account. He's gonna call you back probably within 24 hours. Okay, week goes by, he doesn't call. Yeah. So right then I should have just cut him off. But I call her back. I'm like, hey, I thought Bob was gonna call me back tomorrow. And oh my God, a couple days go by, nothing. I call her back, still haven't heard nothing. She doesn't even respond to me. And a week later, he finally calls me. I'm like, 2 weeks later, I'm not going to go beg a bank to do business with me so they can make money off me, right? That's like, makes no sense. Right. And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to kind of keep shopping around. But I was curious to see what Bob had to say. So I called Bob back. He said, I must have been a cell phone line. He goes, this is Bob. And I'm like, wow, this dude sounds enthusiastic. Doesn't say where he's from, what bank he's nothing. This is Bob. And there's like yelling in the background. Sounds like he's at a basketball game or a kid's baseball game or something. And it's like super loud. And I just hung up. I'm like, F this. Yeah. This is one of the chief lending officer or something of a regional bank. And I'm like, this is what it's like at this level for, we're not talking small business. This is a commercial account. It's at that size. Mm-hmm. And, I'm like, yeah, I'm not screwing with you. It's on to the next one. I'm gonna eventually call around and find someone that's got, good rates and good offerings that has some level of customer service anymore.
Yeah. I mean, the general sense that I get is that customer service right now is for companies or brands that really want to care about it. It's a chance to kind of leapfrog the competition. But it's just a matter of putting kind of processes in place if you don't have access to the talent. But yeah, because at the end of the day, it forms the foundation of just a good, sound business practice. But last thoughts, James. Don't want to tie up too much more of your time.
And did you mention the people that focus on customer service are going to leapfrog? I can't say that I've actually read the article, but it was always on LinkedIn and popped it up on my feed how Chick-fil-A is beats the competition based on customer service. And they're a very big please and thank you kind of company. And I would say the experience between going to Chick-fil-A and McDonald's is crazy. You go to Chick-fil-A, everyone smiles, they say thank you, they're energetic. Whether they care or not, they at least look like they care. And you walk into your average McDonald's, and it's just like a face of sadness. And at some point, it's like, well, who wins that battle? There's right. So much competition coming into the food market, and it's like, here's an organization. Now you can say that I guess supposedly Chick-fil-A pays better, but again, it's like, do you really get a better employee between $14 and $15 an hour? Now, me as an employee, I feel like I need to show up and smile and be a professional and be nice to the customer no matter what. I don't, I knew someone that was running a Subway, and they bumped their salary up quite a bit. And in a weird way, the applicants got worse. Mm-hmm. And he's like, look, man, and if I go from $12 an hour to $16 an hour, for that kind of jump, every time I make a jump 20, 30, 40% in salary, you think, am I going to get a 20, 30, 40% better employee? And in his case, no, he didn't. And in some cases, he got worse applicants. And it's like, well, should your level of customer service and friendliness vary with how much you get paid an hour? And it's like, Is Chick-fil-A just hiring people that are they screening people better? Do they just attract people that are better? At times the local McDonald's versus Starbucks here, they're paying, roughly the same, but the people at Starbucks are always way more, nicer and friendly. You're working the same kind of gigs, all right? You can say that we're highbrow and we're making lattes and it's better than flipping burgers, but it's the same job at the end of the day. But the people at Starbucks always seem to take more pride in their work than the people I ran into at McDonald's, for example. So you saw Chick-fil-A just really hone in on that please and thank you and customer service, and it seems like they're winning this fast food war because their culture is about the customer and being nice. I just don't go back to places where if I got to interact with you and you're sucking the energy out of the room.
Right.
Who wants that? And then we complain about automation. Like, well, they're going to put a computer kiosk in there because it's too much for you to ask to just show up to work and smile. You walk in the average fast food joint and the people at the counter look like their puppy just died. And it's just like, I remember I was probably 12, 13 years old mopping, floors at a liquor store. I got my headphones on. I'm bopping around like, yeah, dude, like, what do I got to be sad about right now? But that is the difference I see between like Starbucks and Chick-fil-A in Michigan anyways versus going to a Burger King or a McDonald's. And the people who can get the workforce that's got the smile on their face, who's going to be reliable, dependable, and be nice to the customer, they are going to win.
Yeah, no doubt.
But that's all I got for this one.
All right. Thanks, James.
I'll catch you.